and gentlemen, the President of the Philippines, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Ikaw ang Pangulo para sa pagbabago.
President Rodrigo Roa Duterte shall now inspect the crates containing the doses of Moderna vaccines, accompanied by Health Secretary Francisco T. Duque III, Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez Jr., Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, Charge the Affair of the U.S. Embassy, John Law, and Senator Bongo.
Sa piling mo, di ko mawawala ang korupsyon.
Let us all witness the affixing of the Res Vacuna sticker on the vaccine crates.
Tayo na magbago. Hawak kamay tayo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. A warm round of applause, please. At this juncture, may we invite the President, together with the Tarmac Party, for a photo opportunity.
Kay Rodrigo Duterte, para sa tunay na pagbabago.
At this point, may we invite the President on stage for the ceremonial turnover of the Moderna vials, accompanied by Health Secretary Francisco T. Duque III, Vaccine Czar Carlito G. Galvez Jr., Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, Sarge the Affair of U.S. Embassy John Law, and Senator Bongo.
Mga nakawan, dapat na mapigilan. Tayo na, Pilipinas. Tayo na, magbago.
The President is now inspecting the vaccine vials.
Para sa pagnasenso.
After. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. You may now take your seats. To start our program, may we call on Secretary of Health Francisco T. Duque III for his welcome remarks.
Thank you very much. To His Excellency, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, colleagues from the Philippine government and the Embassy of the United States in the Philippines, good afternoon to all. On behalf of the Department of Health and the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases of the Philippines, I extend my warmest greetings to everyone as we welcome the arrival of the 3,060,000 doses of Moderna COVID-19 vaccines. This is the second tranche of donation from the U.S. government. The first tranche being 3,240,850 doses of Janssen vaccines. And with this new donation, the U.S. government has generously given the Philippines a total of 6,240,910 doses of COVID-19 vaccines through the effective support of the COVAX facility. We are indeed grateful to the United States government for allocating the vaccines to the Philippines under the dose-sharing mechanism of the COVAX facility. The United States has continuously supported the Philippine government and the Filipino people in the fight against COVID-19, building on the long-standing U.S.-Philippines development partnership. We would like to extend our gratitude to the Embassy of the United States of America in the Philippines, the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, the United Nations Children's Fund, the World Health Organization, and other partners for the invaluable assistance. While the rapid development of vaccines against COVID-19 is an extraordinary achievement, successfully vaccinating the global population presents many challenges. This dose-sharing initiative mitigates these challenges and strengthens ongoing efforts to respond to the ever-evolving COVID-19 threat in the country. And through this donation, millions of Filipinos will be protected from the risk, contributing to our common goal of ending this pandemic globally. And while this unprecedented global health crisis has indeed challenged our peoples and economies, the strong relationship between the United States and the Philippines will help us rise above this. We look forward to defeating this virus together. Once again, thank you very much and mabuhay.
Thank you, Secretary Duque. At this point, may we invite the Charge d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy, John Law, to deliver his message.
Good afternoon. To His Excellency, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, thank you so much for honoring us with your presence here today. Thank you, Secretary Duque, for gathering us for this joyful arrival ceremony. Thanks so much as well to Secretary Lorenzana, Secretary Año, Secretary Galvez, Secretary Nograles, Dr. Rabi from WHO and UNICEF, and all the distinguished guests. It's a great pleasure to be with you here today, welcoming the arrival of these 3 million more vaccines to further aid the Philippines in its efforts to address the COVID-19 pandemic. The United States is determined to do all that we can to help end the COVID-19 pandemic globally. As the biggest contributor to the COVAX facility, the U.S. has facilitated the delivery of more than 13 million vaccines to the Philippines, including as Secretary Duque mentioned, these 6 million doses donated directly by the American people. These vaccines are protecting the most vulnerable populations, the elderly, the immunocompromised, the medical workers who every day risk their own health to keep the rest of us safe. We honor the sacrifices by those on the front lines of this pandemic. We remember and mourn those who have been lost. Recent COVID outbreaks in the region remind us all this pandemic is not yet over, but the science is clear. The best way to stay healthy, to keep your loved ones safe, and to bring this pandemic to an end is to get vaccinated. The United States is working and will continue to work with the Philippines to make safe, effective vaccines widely available throughout the country. We're assisting the Philippine government, their extraordinary Department of Health, Secretary Galvez, and all of their teams in strengthening the pandemic response, supporting vaccine delivery and rollout, testing capacity, training healthcare workers, strengthening supply chains, sustaining local businesses, and improving available medical treatment, helping ensure that the extraordinary Filipino doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals have all the tools they need. The United States will continue to partner closely with the Philippine government to confront and defeat this pandemic. For decades, our two nations have been allies and partners. For generations, Filipinos and Americans have been friends and family. Despite the challenges and difficulties we've endured over the past year and a half, our nations and our friendship are stronger for having faced them side by side. Nandito kami para sa inyo. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Mr. Law. At this juncture, may we call on stage Defense Secretary Delphine Lorenzana to introduce our guest of honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Kindly sit down. Thank you. Health Secretary Francisco Duque, National Task Force Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar, Secretary Carlito Galvez, U.S. Embassy Charge Affairs John Law, World Health Organization Country Representative Dr. Rabindra Abhiyan Singh, and officials from other agencies of the UN and officers of the Philippines. Senator Bongo, Chairman Committee on Health and Demography, Defense Secretary Delphine Lorenzana, Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles, Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año, Presidential Spokesperson Herminio Harry Jr., Presidential Assistant on Foreign Affairs Robert Borge, fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen. It is with joy and I hope we welcome today the arrival of more than 3 million doses of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccines from the United States of America. I wish to thank the United States for the generosity in sharing various COVID-19 assistance to the Philippines. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the COVAX facility for the continuous donation of these vaccines. We look forward to the delivery of even more life-saving vaccines in the country very soon. We are equally grateful for the donations of the key medical supplies and equipment and the provisions of institutional support of our COVID response. All of this have helped, and definitely will continue to help the Filipino people. Indeed, the cooperation between the Philippines and the U.S. in overcoming the pandemic highlights the strong and deep friendship between our two countries. Now, ensuring that these vaccines are brought to our people safely in a tedious and difficult process. May I just make a segue of my talk to you? I know that it is the sentiment of America that the vaccines that should be given to the Philippines should go first to those who have least in life. Yung mga mahirap, the poor ones who cannot afford, and for those, who do not want to be vaccinated, we will try to entice them with the vaccines given by the United States. Now, ensuring that these vaccines are brought to our people safely is a tedious and difficult process. That is why it could be during the squatters, would be in the provinces, but these vaccines which America donated carries with it the sentiment that it be given to the list of those Filipinos who cannot afford. Rest assured, everybody will follow that directive. Let us beat COVID-19 together. At maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our program. Maraming salamat, mahal naming Pangulo, sa pangunguna ng pagtanggap ng mga bakuna kontra COVID-19 para sa ating bansa. Thank you, Mr. President, for leading us in receiving the COVID-19 vaccines for our country. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the President, Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Standby lang po.
Would like to request everyone to please remain seated until the President has left the venue. Thank you very much and mabuhay tayong lahat. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Philippines, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.